Good morning, good morning. Do you remember when it was your toughest time to read through the Bible? I mean, read all the way through the Bible. When was that for you? What part of the Bible were you reading? I'm Elizabeth Inman. What a wonderful, wonderful Wednesday it is. So happy to have everybody on with us this morning, reading all the way through the Bible. We start in January in Genesis 1, and at the end of the year, we finish up with the last chapter of Revelation. All the way through. Just going to see if I could see who's on with us this morning. Oh, I found it. Yay. So Leslie and Mama Mary's on this morning. Good morning, good morning. Hi Debbie and Jan and our Debbies are on. And Nancy's on with us. I've missed you, Nancy. Good morning, good morning. Happy to have you guys with us. Be sure and put your prayer requests in the comments, and thank you guys for praying for our couples retreat. It was everything and more than we ever dreamed it was going to be. It was spectacular. Yeah. It was just power couples. It was power couples coming together, that's for sure. It was incredible, incredible. So many breakthroughs, so much empowerment, encounters with God. I mean, those raw encounters with God are just, they're priceless. They're priceless. That's for sure. Yep. Mama Mary, my daddy would say, punch the button, baby. That's right. Glad you're able to watch on YouTube, Nancy. That's wonderful. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate that. Okay, so prayer requests in the comments. Comments about today's reading. I asked the question about when was a time when you really struggled to get through reading all the way through the Bible. And once again, as I was reading this morning in 1 Chronicles chapter 7 and 8, it's all about the military men primarily, quite frankly. And I can remember it must have been about the year 2003. I don't know. I'd have to rethink that. The year's not important. I had just had one of the most significant promotions of my career. They moved me to a new state, brand new area, I'd never been in before. It was just Tom and I. Our kids were grown and scattered. We had 2 in the military, and the other 2 hadn't quite settled yet. So we were footloose and fancy free. And so it was there that we actually started reading. Tom and I started reading this 1-year plan, the 1-year reading. Now, prior to that, I will say, prior to that was my hardest time, because oh my goodness, I'd seen all these spiritual people, these giants in the faith, and they were, reading, and it talked about their hours of Bible study, and I wanted that. I wanted that, and I attempted so many times to just open up my Bible, and I've told you about how I would literally take my Bible and say, okay, Lord, okay, I'm going to read, I'm going to study today. So wherever it opens, God, please have a message for me. And I just let it fall open. And he was so gracious to me. He did so many times. So many times, Donna, he did. I mean, it was amazing, Judy, that I would just let the book fall open, and right there on that reading would be a message for me that day. And then there would come a time when there wasn't, or it opened up to something like 1 Chronicles chapter 7. So that was honestly my hardest time, is when all of a sudden it didn't. And I had the desire to read in my Bible, but I didn't know where to start. I had attempted so many times to start in Genesis and just decide I was going to read all the way through. And I'd get about to Leviticus, to be honest with you. And I just couldn't get past it. I don't know. That's why this reading plan came in so handy for me. The 1 year Bible breaks up an Old Testament, a New Testament, a Psalms, and a Proverbs. But even then, it was when I had received that promotion, had moved to a new state, gone to a brand new church. Wasn't even the kind of church that I would have picked. God picked that church. So as you know, since God picked the church, it was absolutely the right church. And Tom and I had found these Bibles that we were going to read all the way front cover to back cover in. And I can remember getting to Chronicles. And I was in a new higher level position with brand new responsibilities, in a new state with brand new people that I wasn't familiar with. They did things a little different than I was used to. You get the routine. I mean, you understand what I'm saying. It was an exciting time. It was the time of our lives, and yet it was a difficult time, and it was a scary time. And well, at the time, I may not have been bold enough to talk about how scared I was. Looking back on it, my number one fear was I was going to fail. New responsibility. I had brand new bosses. They had put their faith and trust in me to give me that position. This is when I had moved up the ranks quite a bit. I had a great level of responsibility. And my number one fear was failure. So, I mean, my walk with the Lord was fairly new. I'm only, 3-4 years in of having come back to the Lord. And as the story goes, I'm new in being very, very, very faithful in my Bible reading. So we get to Chronicles, and I'd gotten through some of the earlier tough ones that we've talked about. A lot of the begats and begots, the descendants of, and I had prayed and I kept praying. I prayed, Lord, give me a hunger for your word. I had prayed, God, make this make sense to me. Open my mind so I can understand. I prayed a lot of desperate prayers. I was desperate back then. I still had a fear that I was going to fail God. I mean, I shared my fear about my career, that I'd maybe stepped into something that was a little above my head. But my true failure, my true fear was my failure to God, that I was going to slip and fall again, that I would go back to my old ways. That fear was real, Cassie. I'm telling you. That was the most real. I was a newlywed. Tom and I had just been married, 3, 4, 5 years, something like that. And we hadn't quite hit our groove yet. I mean, it was good. But honestly, the truth about that is, it was probably too good for me to believe it was true. And I was desperate to hang on to my marriage. And here I am trying to be faithful, and I'm reading through the Chronicles, and I've asked God to help me. And He did. He did. And I still to this day have the memories of how He used the pages that we read today in our Bible reading, 1 Chronicles chapter 7 and 8, and how He pointed out the leadership qualities on these pages. Things that I desperately needed in the position that I had accepted with that promotion. And He built me up, and He exalted me. And as I humbled myself being truthful to the Lord that I felt like I was in over my head, being truthful to God that I was desperately afraid I was going to fail. He met me right where I needed him most in the pages of this reading. And I have a feeling that these pages aren't just difficult for me, but it can be difficult for many, especially if you're fairly new at reading the Bible. But, you know, what I so desire about these Bible studies for all of us, for every one of us, first and foremost, I hope somebody brand That's what I thought. I got timed out.